Okay. So we are back for the very last installment of this project. I'm going to make this as short and sweet as humanly possible. So the final step is just bringing everything from here, where everything runs seamlessly together. The background more or less looks like it could be one atmosphere. We're just doing the fine tuning because we'll remind ourselves that this is kind of the idea that we were going for. And now every decision that you've made along the way, where the fish are, exactly how to color balance things, whether her skirt is hanging out of the boat or it's tucked in, where the clouds land, all of those things are going to affect how much yours looks like the original. But you were allowed to take some artistic license here. So I'm just going to show you some techniques for getting the few places where things are still a little too bright or not blending properly, how to get those things to blend. So I've already done a couple things. I've added some adjustment layers to the whole thing. So up at the top, everything else is below it. I can turn these on. And as you can see, the color balance really doesn't do much. It's a very slight change. I could open that up and play around with that if I want. If I want a little bluer. If I wanted a little more magenta. I can still go back and adjust that. So if you've already made an adjustment layer and you want to go back and work on it, you can just double click it. I made a little change in the vibrance. You can really only see it in the top clouds. And then I've got down here the hue and saturation. That makes a huge difference. I can open this up by double clicking and I can still play around with that. I can re-up the saturation. I could adjust the hue if I wanted to. Whatever you want. I'm going to turn this back to 0. Okay. Let's turn this up just a little bit. And if I want to continue to work on the whole thing, I can always just add another layer here, the half circle. I can go into, I don't know, brightness and contrast, I guess. And I could up the brightness if I felt like that was the thing. I could turn down or up the contrast if I felt like that was going to make a big difference for me. I kind of like it a little bit brighter. I think that does get me a little bit closer to the brightness of the original. So we'll leave that there. Once again, if I want to make an adjustment to that later, I can double click on it and it'll reopen the panel. If I want to try something else, once again, half circle, got all sorts of things. Now, if there is one particular thing on the screen that you think is not like the others, that just doesn't look quite right to you, for me, here it's the tree. So everything else, very pretty, ethereal, whatever. This tree is still a little too realistic to me. So what I'm going to do is to choose just that one specific thing. I'm going to click on it. And by clicking on it, it's selected the layer. Okay? So I clicked on it. And I'm going to use the quick selection tool. And the great part about this is that you've already done the hard work. Because you're on that layer. If you swipe over this, you can even go outside the lines. It's going to spring back to only what you had on that layer. Okay, so it's not going to choose any random things around it. It's going to snap back to that layer. Now that I have just that selected, I can do an adjustment layer. Same situation, the half circle. And here I'm going to try to adjust the hue and saturation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my slider and I am going to slide along and change the color. And the only thing that's changing is this tree. So I can choose a nice surreal shade of pink, maybe that reddish pink, like a maple tree. And then I can adjust how saturated it is. It could be super bright, but that doesn't really fit with the whole image. So I'm going to turn it, I guess, just under 0. But I could make it a little lighter if I wanted to. I could make it a little darker. Overall, I think I like this. And if I feel like it needs a little bit more adjustment, I can do the same thing. Click the layer, select tool, click the layer. I can do a quick select. I can select the whole tree. I need the tree. Where's the tree? Here we go. I can select the whole tree and I can add another adjustment layer if I want. But I'm pretty happy with how this all turned out. You can play around with it until you feel like it is sufficiently similar or has the same general aesthetic as this original one. Obviously, there are some things that I could go back and change to make it more identical, but don't worry about identical. Just make me an image that you think captures the same spirit and that you are happy with. And I look forward to seeing your final projects.